Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Semen Retention Sunday on this channel. And if you want to go ahead and give a like, comment, or subscribe to the channel if you support content like this, or later on if you receive any kind of edification from this video, that would be much appreciated. Now, the topic for today is how women are attracted to you when you walk away on semen retention. Now, why are women attracted to you when you have the ability to walk away and when you do walk away? Especially beautiful women. Like, beautiful women are used to getting what they want. They're used to getting, like, what they want based off of how they present their sexuality. And oftentimes, if you're somebody that is able to look at them and say, no, no, that's just not going to happen. You're very attractive, but no. Ultimately, and if you mean it, ultimately, they're going to be very, very attracted to this. And what you are truly doing in that moment, in those moments, where you say no and you actually mean it, what you're really doing is expressing a sense of honor, of integrity, of valuing yourself, you're respecting yourself, and you're giving yourself the permission to be who you are. And you're not afraid either. You're not afraid to lose out, quote unquote, on this possibility. And when you're not afraid to lose out, and you're not really desperate for any kind of female attention or anything like that, ultimately they're going to be very attracted to this. And it's very strange how this happens, right? Like, it's this kind of catch-22 where it's just going to place you back on top. You're going to be back on top. And I mean that in the sense of, as a man, it is important for us to be leaders. And if you are placing the women on the pedestal and you're treating them as the thing to get, I cannot tell you how many times I've seen that happen, not just in my own life when I've done that in the years past, and I learned from my mistakes, but with even men now that are continuing to do that, it's like some of these women really thrive off of being able to take your backbone away, I guess you could say. And in the Bible it says, give not your strength unto women, right? That's in Proverbs. And the reason that you do not give your strength unto women is because if you do, ultimately what you're showing is that you do not have a backbone. You do not know how to stand up for yourself. You do not know how to communicate effectively. You do not know how to communicate for yourself, and you really don't respect yourself. And so you will absolutely lose your sense of self when you place women on a pedestal. And I know this because I've done that in the past, where I placed the women on top of the hierarchy in the relationship. And where did it go? Things went south. We went into a ditch, a ditch of despair and superfluousness. However, whenever I led the relationship, whenever I was leading where I really wanted to go in any kind of involvement with women, they would usually do one of two things. And they usually do one of two things, I guess I could say. They will comply and they will be submissive, and they will honor you and respect you, which is preferred, or they will get pissed off that they can't control you. And some of them will get pissed off that they can't control you and actually like it, but other times they'll get pissed off that they can't control you and they'll try to ruin your reputation. And those are the kinds of women that are narcissists, and those are the kinds of people that I encourage you to highly, highly, highly stay away from at all times and all possibilities. And then there's some women that are just so obsessed with you that you don't really know what else to do apart from placing boundaries and honoring those boundaries. And then if those boundaries are crossed, you got to let them miss out on attention or validation or anything of the sorts. Only reward good behavior. And sometimes it's very difficult when they're trying to seduce you, right? Like, especially if it's a very beautiful woman that knows she's beautiful, that is used to using her sexuality to get what she wants. And if she's kind of a narcissistic personality, she's going to do what she can to try to make you, like, be seduced. And I know this, and this has happened to me recently, and it's crazy because some of these women are even in relationships. Like, some of these women are even married. Like, you know how crazy that is? That's why I place boundaries right off the bat. Right off the bat, there's boundaries. Right from the jump. And if those boundaries are crossed, those boundaries are not accepted, I will not tolerate it, and there will be consequences such as removed attention or removed presence. If I'm around them consistently, not necessarily by choice, but just by happenstance and just by circumstance. And it can be very challenging, of course, if this woman is really trying to seduce you and all that stuff, but you have to have the balls as a man to walk away. And on semen retention, you're going to be able to have those balls because you actually are retaining your life force. You are actually retaining that extra energy to improve your life and improve the stability of your life. And any woman that does not at least follow that stability, because women are chaotic by nature, if she at least acknowledges it and appreciates it, then you can have something to work with. But otherwise, it's a no-go. And it's like Bilbo Baggins says in The Lord of the Rings: if you don't keep your feet, there's no telling where you're going to be swept off to. That is the case with women as well. If you do not keep your own feet on the ground, if you do not have your feet on the ground, if you are off in La La Land, if you are off in the mind's wonder world and lost in your imagination and your idealization of her, boy, oh boy, are you going to have some issues. Are you going to have some problems? Are you going to have to deal with some craziness going on in your life? And it's going to be very, very difficult for you to move on from certain things if you do not have the capacity and the fortitude to actually go through with those boundaries. And some of those boundaries for me, like, how do you place boundaries? Well, you show and demonstrate that you're willing to walk away. And that's a boundary as well. It's like, if you, like, for me, any kind of flings are not to be tolerated with me. I don't do flings. And so if a woman is just interested in sex and she makes that kind of apparent, I just say, I don't think we're looking for the same thing. I don't think we're compatible. That's that. And if she tries to come back, it's like, I know that she's a harlot. Like, I know she's a harlot and she's just trying to get my attention. So I just don't give it to her. I don't give her that attention. Even if she, like, stands 5 feet away from me shaking her ass like some women have at the gym. It's so super crazy. But even if they do that, it's like, no thanks. I'm just going to remove myself from the equation here. And that's the best way to go about it, and that's the only way that you can go about it if you have to if you have to see this person consistently on a consistent basis and not by your own accord, really. And then you have other kinds of boundaries, like if you're actually involved in a relationship with this woman, or you're looking to be involved with a relationship with this woman, and you're a righteous man, and you want to place God first in the relationship, and you ask her if she follows Jesus, like, do you follow Jesus? There are two things that happen when you ask this question, and I've had multiple responses to gauge what kind of answers people give. If a woman says she's spiritual, but she doesn't really follow the Bible or whatnot, that's a woman that's a witch. She may not think it, she may not know it, but that's going to be a witchcraft thing for you, and you don't really need to deal with that shit. So go somewhere else and know that you're not compatible if you're actually a godly man wanting a godly woman. Then you have the other possibilities where she says, yes, I do follow Jesus. Well, what you're seeing in that moment is that she's somewhat submissive subconsciously. And as a man, if you're in a leadership position, you have your leadership role, you know where you're going, you have a direction, you know what you want, you know what you're building, that's good, that's good. But if she starts to demonstrate that she actually doesn't, because there's a lot of Christians, quote unquote, out here that claim to be Christian or claim to follow Jesus. Some of the religious ones are the worst kinds of women. Like, if she's trying to teach you, quote unquote, if she's trying to teach you, that's a masculine woman, and she thinks she knows more about the Bible than you, that's going to be a headache down the road, man. That's not good. And I know that because I was involved with a woman that thought she knew more than me at the time when it came to the Bible, and this was only about a year ago. And my goodness, like, after a week or two, I was just like, you know what? This ain't worth it, man. This ain't worth it. I don't even want to talk to you anymore. Like, we were just getting to know each other, but it is what it is. Anyway, then there's the other possibility where you just say, like, no, I don't. Well, great to know. See ya. And you just go somewhere else. So you want to make sure that this woman, if you're a righteous man and you're looking for a righteous woman, does she follow Jesus? Because if she doesn't have God as her first priority, then she's not going to have your relationship truly in mind down the line. Because if a woman places God first, then you know that she actually does have some kind of morals, even if she doesn't, like, even if she's not as righteous as you maybe would like her to be, or she's not as righteous as she puts off or lets off, at least you know that she's not, like, she's not a hoe. And really, like, if that's the fucking standard of nowadays, then it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Well, those are some recommendations for boundaries there. And it just helps weed out a lot of any unnecessary games or anything like that. Because ultimately what you do want to become is the guy that is for real. The guy that doesn't put up with bullshit and that puts his foot down and means it and has a backbone, and that is not going to waver from that no matter how seductive the woman may be, or no matter how puppy dog eyes she gives you. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't fall for that. Don't fall for that. Don't fall for that stuff, man. Don't fall for it. She gives you those puppy dog eyes of, ooh. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Women only cry for real when they're alone. And I know this because I had a sister that she would only cry in front of, like, my dad or something. And she would only do that to get what she wanted. When my sister was really upset, she would lock herself in her room and she would not come out. Not until she was done crying. And she wouldn't tell us that she was crying until, like, a week or two later. And I mean, that wasn't very, like, it didn't happen too often, but when it did, like, yeah, we knew what was up afterward. But And I found that was the same thing with other women as well. Not just like it wasn't just my sister. It wasn't just like that. But that's just how the cookie crumbles nowadays. Not just nowadays, but always, I guess, with women. You know, they will give their heart and soul to a man or to someone that they feel like they can give it to. And as a man, you have to be willing to walk away. And if you're willing to walk away, that's how you get a woman attached in some sense as well. And I'm not saying you should do this just out of a sense of arrogance or like self-righteousness, or to try to get the woman attached to you, but it will get a woman attached to you if she knows that you can walk away. So I hope this message was useful and insightful. And until next time, peace be with you.